I want to welcome everyone to the Talking Textiles podcast. I'm Jonathan Palmer, member of ATA's board of directors. In fact, I just left the board of directors meeting, so now I have to switch my mode of thinking for a little bit here. And then I'm the CEO of Autometrix, manufacturer of cutting systems for industrial textiles and composites. The goal of this podcast is to get to know the wide variety of positions and markets that make the advanced textiles world turn. We'll be talking to professionals in different roles throughout the series to help inspire the next generation of textile professionals and anyone interested in learning about other people's journey in the world of textiles. ATA offers advanced textiles content throughout the year, so please visit textiles.org/events to learn more. Welcome to the Talking Textiles podcast. On today's episode, we are recording live from the Advanced Textiles Expo here in Anaheim, California, and we're going to be speaking with Ethan Halpern, the president of American Awning Blind Co, Daniel Cuppels, the operations manager at Blithe Defense Industrial Covers, and Alberto Ramirez, the CEO of Just For You Custom Canvas. So all of these guys are from the West Coast. I want to give you guys each a real quick moment to just introduce yourself so people can get to know your voice as well as what your company does, and then we'll jump into some questions and conversation.
I'm Daniel Cuppels, operations manager for Blithe Defense in Huntington Beach, California. We are a soft goods manufacturer specializing in aerospace and defense with an emphasis on protecting machines, equipment, vehicles, and people through the use of textiles.
I'm Ethan Halpern. I am the owner of American Awning Blind Co, and we do fabric awnings, metal cabinet. We do residential work as well as commercial work, a lot of storefronts, retail, that kind of thing.
Hello, I'm Alberto Ramirez from Just For You Custom Canvas. We specialize in all residential and commercial awning and shade systems, and we cover the Santa Barbara area.
Well, I appreciate all of you guys being willing to jump into this conversation. I'm going to ask questions. You guys feel free to respond. You don't have to respond to every question I ask. If I want to hear one of your opinions, I'll directly ask. But if you feel like you have something you want to share, by all means do. So does anybody want to just start off with how you feel like you became an expert in your field? How did you get into the world of the textiles industry? Did you take over a business? Did you start a business? And where do you feel like you were able to learn and become an expert in your field?
I don't know that I would call myself an expert at this point. I still feel like I'm learning a lot, sometimes on a daily basis. I think for me, it's just been a lot of on-the-job training. You know, a lot of it is just observation. You're out in the world, you're looking at jobs, you're looking at how other people do things. So I feel like I'm a student of it as much as a owner. So whenever I'm out and about, I'm trying to pick up stuff wherever I can. So if I see other work that other folks have done, I'll check it out. See if I can learn from it, pick up a few tricks myself.
Yeah, I'm going to just semi-new to the textile industry, about 2 years in, and trial by fire, right? Kind of got thrown into it. I come from a management background and hospitality, just learning as I go. I would not say I'm an expert. I would say I'm learning every single day. It's actually probably one of the most enjoyable parts of my position, a creative process, working with my team and helping our customers find solutions for their needs. It's a bit overwhelming when I first got started, but you pick it up quickly, and just looking forward to what comes next.
Yeah, so I mean, very similar to both you guys. I wouldn't consider myself an expert yet. I only have 5 years in the trade, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family that this was, always a thing. I was always around it, but not until the pandemic, I really jumped all in. So, I've been also very fortunate to meet other people in the industry. And so as a young guy, I think the older heads and the people that have been there for 30, 40 plus years, them teaching me and getting me out of those sticky situations where you just don't know what to do. That's what expands my knowledge. And I mean, I think in our trade, and especially the area where I'm at, where there's really no one to really lean on because there's not many people that are in the trade. It's just a matter of meeting the right people, talking to people, and then telling your team, really, how can we, learn together and get out of those situations,
When people think about the textiles industry, I think there's parts of North America, especially, where people tend to focus on when they think fabric and textiles. and it doesn't tend to be the West Coast. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. All of them tend to be on the East Coast, maybe, some of the Rust Belts, everything like that. Do any of you guys have thoughts on why that is from your perspective as a West Coast company?
Mill location where things are produced, imported, as a fabricator manufacturer of soft goods, we're lucky that we're surrounded by our general demographic in our industry. Working in aerospace and defense, we're hyper local to a lot of these companies and to a lot of our customers. I believe that when you think of the textile industry, you're thinking of, Greater Lakes, thinking of the Carolinas, Northeast, places that produce the fabric and textiles.
When people think of textiles, a lot of times we're thinking of textile mills and some of the history of textiles. But in a lot of our experience, people think in terms of the East Coast when they talk textiles. We're all in a textile industry. We're on the West Coast. Do you have any thoughts on just why there's still maybe an East Coast centric mindset around textile industry?
That's very unique. I mean, really being in the West Coast, I never thought of it as an East Coast thing. Okay. The awnings in my region, the big reason people are using it is one for sun, but also for rain protection. Even though we've been in a drought, now that we're getting those sudden rainstorms, we start noticing these old homes. They get a lot of leaks in their doors. Very expensive doors are swelling up because of water. So a lot of homeowners, they're starting to come to us saying, how can we protect our door? So it's not just about sun. And I'm starting to see more of the water protection here on the West Coast. So that's a shift that I'm starting to notice.
I agree that traditionally the manufacturers, at least of the goods, are all back east. And so I think maybe that's what gives it part of that perception. But yeah, I feel like our market here in the West Coast is really strong as far as what people want, whether for their homes or for businesses. And so especially with all the sunshine we get, people want to enjoy those yards, those patios, those restaurant patios. So even though the suppliers may be back east, I mean, we're still doing a lot of work, I think, out here on the West Coast.
Yeah. I mean, all of you guys are in fairly different industries in some ways, but at the same time, ultimately, you're covering valuable things, right? It doesn't matter if it's a living space, an entryway to a restaurant, or something on the defense industry. We're trying to cover and protect from the elements, essentially. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm asking kind of open-ended leading questions there, but ultimately, as a supplier to the industry, I know how many customers I have on the West Coast. I know how many suppliers I have across, whatever the region. And I agree with you that there's actually a lot more as far as end product manufacturing going on than is maybe immediately evident to people that aren't on the West Coast. So do you feel like your opportunity as West Coast companies is limited compared to maybe other parts of the United States? Or do you feel like it's just different?
Well, to be honest, I don't know what folks in other parts of the country really are dealing with, just aside from side conversations I may have with other fabricators. But I think we've got a lot of great opportunities out here. I really do. Just like Daniel mentioned, with some of the industries that we have out here, we've got world-class restaurants that have needs, boutique hotels out here as well, aerospace. So I think there's a lot of great opportunities for all of us. How it compares, obviously maybe slightly different needs. We're not building vegetables, let's say, for restaurants because I keep the snow out and the 2-degree high winds, but there are other things that I think that we're able to fill the needs for.
I'd say regionally, we're not impacted in my industry. A lot of our customers are national or global brands. We work with several locations for these customers. We're able to get blueprints or engineering files from them, and we're able to ship to them directly. It's always an added benefit being able to visit them, pattern, or measure ourselves, but we're not limited in our capabilities in any way by our location. I think our location is actually extremely beneficial to us because of the close proximity to our core group of customers, but we're able to work globally in my industry.
To give our listening audience, I guess, more of an idea of maybe what your industry looks like in your particular region, would any of you be willing to share like a win or a project that you are super proud of from the last 12 to 18 months? They're thinking so hard right now.
Due to the sensitivity of my work, I'm limited in sharing and providing who my customers are. I'd actually say I've had a lot of wins. And I think internally, conceptually, our customers come to us with problems. and they're looking for solutions that don't necessarily exist in the physical realm yet. And we have to go brainstorm as a group, as a team, and bring these thoughts and ideas into reality, and then go into prototyping. And for us to see a problem turn into a solution for our customer in a physical, tangible sense, that's a big win for us. And we do that all the time. And I think that's one of the most exciting things that our company is able to achieve, is helping our customers with their problems and solving them for them. So I'm going to take that as we get W's all the time.
Well, for me, like, I'm very new to the industry, so I still haven't dabbled into, huge commercial projects yet. But I'd say, I mean, I try to take every client as a win, really, because they're putting a lot of trust in me and they're putting a lot of trust in my company and they believe in me. So I really do value my customer relationships that I've been having. I take a win having my welder welding constantly, having the sewers busy and constantly growing the team. So to give you perspective, it started off with me and my pops working, having one sewer. And right now we're going to 2 sewers, 1 welder, and 2 installers. So that's a medium-sized team. And for the volume that we take, I mean, it's really great. So really, I think I'm taking every day as it comes. And, I just hope on continuing expanding and keeping my team busy, because that's the biggest win. I hate having my people sitting there. I don't like how that feels. I want to keep everyone busy. And as long as we keep employing people and training people and having these people feel fulfilled, that's what I take as a win. But I can't say one specific client is a win, but I'd say like volume. I like volume.
Thinking of a specific project, we did one large restaurant retractable system that we put in over a rooftop. That was really cool. It was a big 50 by 30 foot space that we had to cover, big atrium area. And what was great about it is just the problem solving that went into it. It really did involve our entire team to kind of pull this thing off. And so just having all hands on deck and being able to make it happen. Talk about learning experiences. It's always nice when you can go into a job, you're 95% sure you're going to get this thing done. And so it's when you go into those experiences, I always find that you learn a couple things at the end, and you come out of that, everybody can kind of pat themselves on the back and say, yeah, we pulled it off, and we learned a few new tricks and tips in the way. So.
Yeah. We're all on the West Coast. Advanced Textiles Association has membership all over the place, but they're very equal opportunity. They're located pretty much right on the center line. I did look at a map. They're in Minnesota. I guess if they moved to North Dakota, that might be like more equal opportunity between Canada and US, but I don't think that's going to happen. When you think about, how you engaged Advanced Textiles, or maybe it was IFAI at the time you first engaged it, how'd you hear about it? And what do you feel like has been just a enduring value you get from it that's kept you engaged?
So for me, the ATA has been a wealth of knowledge. Being new to the industry, the owner, my boss, it's really guided me in the direction I think that he followed and that he learned. And the ATA has been a real blessing in that sense. The online resources are top tier. I've gone on the forums multiple times, asked questions, and gotten some really good answers from some industry-specific people, and that have pointed me in the right direction to help me finish projects or get started on projects, and where to source materials from. I've called the ATA before, looking for certain aspects of how to use the member directory. Member directory is awesome. I've met several of our vendors through that. And then just being here in person, this trade show is beautiful. Hats off to the ATA. I think if we didn't have something like this, the industry would be hurting. This is something that brings us all together. We're from all over the nation. And I think bringing us centrally into a location once a year where we can share ideas, meet new people, and grow our businesses, I think it helps the textile industry as a whole. It's a wealth of knowledge and should be respected.
If you sign the same NDA I did, your check will be waiting in the back. Well done, Daniel.
Thank you, ATA.
Well done. Yeah, Daniel, you sound like you're on top of this. I think I need to take more advantage of the message boards and the
It's
forums. Yeah, for me, it's mostly the events, getting together, being able to meet other folks. I mean, being able to do something like this and just talking to these guys is great. So anytime we have the opportunity to get together and talk with other people in the industry, it's always a win.
Okay. You guys are all here at Expo. I've met all of at least you or your businesses before at Expo, so I know your attendees. Just like, I guess, a real question, are you more likely to attend an Expo or less likely depending on where it's held? Or do you view Expo as like, this is just something I do each year?
This being my first one and having it local has been a blessing. I've been able to kind of work remotely and also at the office and come back and forth to the Expo itself. Location's great. I think it gets you out traveling, exploring new places. So you kind of get a little bit of that vacation vibe going with the work. I think a city that was more attractive, I'd be more willing to go. Yeah, location I think has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, same. Location plays a big role for me. Like this was here in Anaheim, so it was perfect. I had to be here, So I think it also depends just on the vendors, what other vendors are coming, what other activities are happening.
Yeah.
So if there was like, a big announcement about what's going to happen in regards to like presentations or new technology that's coming, I think that will also drive people in to come. But I mean, this year, the Angel Stadium, that was a huge treat. That was really great.
Too bad the Angels aren't that good.
Yeah. But it was a good time. Mm-hmm.
Do you guys feel like maybe even just this year, was there something you were hoping to find or learn at Expo that wasn't here that you would hope, whether it's a different exhibitor, different vendors, whatever, who might be here next year?
And I just wish I had more time. This was massive. Like I'm still not done with the other half of this Expo hall. So that's on me. That's my bad schedule. So, but I think you guys fulfill so many things, there's no disappointments. Oh.
Okay.
I'm going to second that. I wish I had more time. I think an extra day would be beneficial. I kind of got pulled away for some projects that we're working on, and I wasn't able to experience all of the Expo in its entirety. I feel like I kind of just scratched the surface. I really enjoyed the first 2 days of the emerging technologies and the seminars we were able to attend. I thought they were really helpful, but I wish I had more time to walk the floor, to be honest.
Right.
It's overwhelming how many people are here and how many products and services and connections you could possibly make here. I remember when I first walked in, I felt like I was literally at Disneyland for textiles. And my boss had made a joke that he'd have to get a leash from me, get lost here.
That's a good reminder for me. I've been coming to this for a long time. And so it's easy for it to become kind of repetitive for me because I see the same people. I know a lot of people on this floor. And so it's a good reminder that for those new, that new perspective, that it can be pretty overwhelming on even knowing where to start.
Yeah. A cool thing would be like if there was more like opportunities for like the sons or like the young people, the daughters, whoever, is taking over the business or new to the business, just have more networking opportunities, I guess, for that demographic, just so we could know, who is, the future of that company, who's taking over. So that would be really sweet. I don't think there's been an opportunity like that I've heard of.
Okay.
I also want to acknowledge the puppies. That was a high point for me, and I vote for more puppies in the future.
More puppies. Should we just let them free? I don't know why. Because again, from the exhibitor standpoint, I just hear about puppies being here. I feel like we should just let them roam free, see what happens.
I'd be good with that.
Find a house. Yeah.
I'd be good with that.
You guys can probably imagine it takes quite a lot to actually put this together and pull it off. Just out of curiosity, do any of you guys have a guess on how many years out we already have Expo like booked, contracted with a place?
5 years?
Guy got his answers ahead of time.
I was going to say 5, but now I have to play by the Price is Right. So I'm going to go 7.
I think you guys planned this about 3 weeks ago.
Yep, exactly. Ethan's got it. That is about all it takes. We just find an empty space and we're like, hey, we'll fill it.
Dog.
We get really good, last minute rates. It's like Priceline.com. No, so Alberto is right. We are contracted 5 years out. We're in discussion already, usually about
nice.
7 to try to figure it all out. Tons of stuff going on. So yeah, we're contracted all the way out through 2029. Wow. Just random. And I know for some of you guys, you haven't been to a ton of expos. Do you have a favorite place that Expo has been at, or a place you hope to go back to or would love to go to for Expo? Knowing that this answer may not have an effect for 6 to 7 years.
Well, Well, someone who's a first-time attendee who has limited knowledge of the past. I don't believe you guys have ever done an expo before until I arrived.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
I'm going to go with cities I haven't been to, and you can get with me after. We can discuss the plans for that.
Perfect.
I'd say LA, like Anaheim. It's close to me, so I like, the location.
Keep it.
Yeah,
keep
keep
it
it
close.
here.
All right.
So we went to the Orlando show years ago.
Yeah.
My kids were a little too young at that time to appreciate Disney. So if we could get that in the next 5 years, I think it would be
Okay.
perfect timing.
So I have this life goal that worked for a while. I was trying to convince my kids that Disneyland was the made up place where made up princesses lived so that I would never have to take them. And that was working great until they had friends that started going to Disneyland. And I tried like, hey, that's so great. They have a good imagination, but they're starting to catch on. So I might have to follow through if they go back to Orlando. We're actually booked twice in Orlando for the next 5 years.
Wow.
So
Great.
it's going to happen for you, Ethan. We're
All right,
here.
we'll ride the teacups together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. Can you take my kids to Disney? I trust you. I hope my kids never hear this. A lot of focus. This is just random since I've already gone off the rails. A lot of focus on, textile mills and everything out of the East Coast. Do you guys have a thought on what the West Coast, maybe you guys are all California, what California has to offer the country specifically, other than just higher housing prices as our citizens leave? Something you would just encourage someone to take advantage of in California?
I don't think this gets said enough, but hospitality, at least in my industry and my circle of networking, very hospitable.
Mhm.
I think the South gets a big nod to that, but I'm nicer than them. I'll help you better than them. I just think the people, we're surrounded by great weather, beautiful beaches. I think it has a real effect on our personalities. So
Oh, yeah.
I like to think that we are easy to work with.
Yeah, I'd like to second that. I mean, I think the attractions of California, we have desert, we have the beach, we have the snow, we have the mountains, whatever kind of ecosystem you want a taste of, you can grab. So, I think people just narrow us down to one little city, one big city, but
Yeah.
California is so big. So there's, different sights to see. And I think people just need to come over here and experience the people for themselves because the food's great.
Yeah.
Our culture, our history is great. So, I think we produce some very good, people and, entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can't lose on the food in California.
Right.
A number of you guys have already mentioned this, but one of the most commonly commented things about ATA and Expo specifically is it's all about networking.
Mhm.
Alberto, you already mentioned, looking for some more networking opportunities, maybe with younger professionals.
Mhm.
I know they had a couple events on the floor, but that can be hard to step away from whatever conversation.
Yeah.
We have industry night. Trivantage always, throws an amazing party. So there's a lot of those opportunities. Is there one that stands out to you as you feel like has been the most useful way to just meet new people, interact, build your network?
I attended the PAMA night for the first time this year.
Okay.
So that was really cool. Glad I
Okay.
did that. It's a great opportunity to meet some other fabricators and kind of talk shop and talk other stuff.
So you guys were bowling this year, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm going to make sure to show up for them in the future.
Cool.
I like the Angel Stadium. I think that was a great way to just, let loose and have fun, eat food. The bus ride back, I was talking to a lot of people. So there's a lot of opportunities just to talk to people. Everyone's super friendly. So just in general, being at the expo floor and talking to the vendors, it's a great way to connect.
The ATA took you to Angel Stadium.
Yeah.
Only sort of. Through
I missed out on this.
Trivantage and Umbrella throws a party that is pretty impressive. So there's industry night that ATA throws, and there's some other industry parties that continue through the week. So
I'm gonna have some words with Trivantage. All right. I think
I can make the introduction for you, Daniel. We'll
Appreciate
get
that.
this going.
I think the majority of my networking actually was done in the Emerging Technologies Conference Monday and Tuesday. I mentioned it earlier. I thought it was fantastic. But, when you're in those classrooms with groups of people all day long and you're going from room to room, eventually the faces become more familiar. And then you're having lunch with them and kind of breaking bread with them. And as you're eating, you're talking about what you do. We we met a couple really good connections during that. We actually ended up going out to lunch, I believe yesterday, with some people we met from the Emerging Technologies Conference. And just being around the same group of people all day long, it kind of forced to talk to each other. And we had a couple of networking events during that as well. We got to play with Legos and do some creativity and get some laughs out and work as a team. So I found that to be very beneficial.
Based on that, do any of you guys feel like you would then look at other Advanced Textiles Association events and consider doing more than just Expo each year?
I would, definitely. I'd like to go to more conferences. I find them to be beneficial. I'm sure there's definitely I know in my past industry, there was conference burnout, probably from what you were talking about earlier or suffered. But currently, I feel like there's a whole world to explore, and there's so many relationships that we can build by meeting one another in this industry.
Yeah, they put on a conference a couple of years back in Utah, which I thought was fantastic. And so I think having the opportunities to just get together other places, maybe tour shop, see how other people are doing business, I think that's always really valuable. So yeah, I look forward to.
Was that Fabricators Conference, probably at Sharps Tarps? And,
exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Does Expo and your experience here just make you want to look into other opportunities for networking, or do you feel like it's meeting the need that it needs to meet?
I mean, I love the networking aspect of it. Definitely taking advantage of more of those lectures and little classes that we have. I mean, they're very valuable. I just really like hearing from the experts.
On the topic of networking, do any of you guys feel like you have a story? I asked about wins earlier, but do you have like a business story that you feel you can trace to networking? Like you had the confidence to go take on a job because of conversations you'd had, or maybe you heard about an opportunity, but you feel like networking is just that generic big word that we use and all hold value for?
I'd say that networking definitely helps. I mean, it's always about who you know and the right time. Like, I mean, this year I worked with the school, started off with one little job, it was just one awning, and then just conversating and talking about a cousin of mine that attended that school, and that person knowing my cousin, it kind of just came on and it led to more work at that school. So we recently finished that job, and I couldn't, I kept telling, the principal there how thankful I was for, the opportunity and trusting me. So networking definitely helps.
A lot of our business is actually word of mouth within these companies. So technicians or engineers will see our products and they'll go, oh, well, I have an idea. I wonder if they can help me with it. And it kind of spreads like wildfire. So I'll agree with you on that. Our work kind of sells itself in a sense that once someone sees and interacts with our products, it starts getting their imagination going. And we get phone calls all the time or emails from people in those companies or outside of their companies that saw our work, and it just spreads.
Any thoughts, Ethan?
Yeah, in terms of building the client network, yeah, I'd agree with what both these guys said. I think our business is pretty similar too, in that it is a lot of networking and who you know and fulfilling. You got to get the job done. You got to do it right and make your client happy, and then good things will happen. But in terms of that networking, I think within the ATA, I don't know if I would necessarily pinpoint specific jobs where I felt like we can do this because of this conversation we had. But I will say, it's definitely helped to improve my knowledge and just the techniques and the way that we approach the business. It's just like adding building blocks, just adding more. We've got more things up our sleeve now as a result of that networking within the ATA. So it's definitely has helped, in terms of our capabilities and how we approach things, for sure.
Yeah, I know, I'm not a fabricator in the same way that you guys are. The other day, one of my daughters pointed out that I don't build machines out of fabric. Why do I go to a trade show about fabric? But in the same way, I experience a lot of the same business things you guys do. And I know I was at Outlook conference this year, and I ended up sitting at a table and, 6 of us are talking about ERP systems. And it turns out, we've all talked to the same companies. Some of us have actually tried those softwares. And I learned more in that dinner than I could have learned wasting my time talking to, 50 different ERP salespeople and implementers, because you're learning from people who've gone through that same thing. They understand what you're dealing with. And that's not to say, the salespeople don't bring value and how they're presenting things, but you learn a lot from just that. I know you, I respect how you run your business. I understand what you've gone through, and I'm learning from that. So, I think that what I always just try to remind people is that you get as much out of networking as you put into networking. If you come here, you walk the show floor, you leave, you haven't met anyone new, you've learned things, but you haven't learned anything close to what you could potentially learn by meeting people, opening up about what challenges you face and learning through their experience.
Well said.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel.
I'm scared for your salesman.
I have a fantastic sales team, but they do all know that I have strong opinions on how, usually it's based on how someone has failed to sell to me. And that's the experience I bring back into the conversation of man, no one likes it when you do X, Y, Z, but I have a lot to learn on that front. I'll stop talking before I get myself in trouble. All right. Random question. If there was something that you could change about the West Coast that you think would make your business, specifically textile business, more successful, what do you think it would be?
I was going to say rain. If we just had a lot more rain,
man, wouldn't that help?
I think there'd be putting up a lot more canopies, don't you think?
Yeah, that's true. The weather impacts us. So rain, if we can get more rain, more replacements will happen. And people would say, I get water in my windows. I can't sleep. Every time I step out, there's puddles on the floor. So that would, bring up awareness,
When I travel to the East Coast and I look at all the boat enclosures and everything, because the marine canvas industry is so huge out east and even through a lot of the Midwest, it's because the weather's terrible. I don't even know why people buy boats out there. And then out here in California, they buy boats and they're like, why would I want anything on top of this boat? I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm in the sun. Everything's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with weather as well. While a lot of our products are used indoors, we do protect from the elements as well. But the industry that we're in, I don't think is as acceptable, as I said earlier, to location, because we truly do work nationally and globally. So I find that being in California is more of a benefit because of all of the infrastructure that is around us. It's easy to ship in and out of California. The rates are good, it's cheap, and there's so many vendors, and materials are easily accessible for us to work with. And our partners at these companies are close by. So I find it to be more of a benefit. I wouldn't really say anything as far as, we could have some more rain. That'd be great. Do some more outdoor stuff or some snow. Lava would be kind of cool. I don't know how textiles would fare with that, but we'll figure it out. But weather could be a little more detrimental, which would be beneficial to us.
There it is. Weather is too good in California to be successful.
Yeah.
What do you guys feel about as far as workforce development, challenges, anything that you experience?
Yeah, I think, just working in the textile industry, it's a very niche field. I think we all manufacture end user products. So seamstresses, sewers are talented ones. Technical ones are hard to find, hard to come by. I feel like that industry, it just isn't as large as it probably should be. Finding people and the right people that have the knowledge, it's a scarcity. And we need more people in the workforce that have that knowledge and expertise for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's very difficult to get, skilled workers. I'd say, sewers, that's where most people, depending on where you are and what region, you sometimes struggle with that. You might know a sewer, but does that sewer kind of think out of the box and is willing to, fix challenges, things that aren't easy? Are they going to be able to fix it? So it's you can always find, someone that can do a straight line, but what if we need to fix something? So those people that think outside the box are very difficult to come by.
It's definitely been a challenge, especially the last couple of years, to hire new staff. It really has been. One thing that I'm trying to focus more on now is, if we can't necessarily find somebody that has the experience that we're looking for, let's try to find somebody with the right mindset and that really fits our culture well. And then let's try to train them to do what we need them to do. So I find it's easier to train somebody to do the work than it is to try to train them to behave and hold themselves in the way that you might want them to in a working environment. So we're trying that out. We'll check back in with you in a year and let you know how that's going. So the other thing for us, and maybe you experience this too. So, we're not a huge company. And so one of the other things that we look for too we need our folks to be flexible, because there are times when I've got to shift people around in the shop because we have our bottleneck. Maybe he's in the sewing department one week and it shifts over to the metal department the next week. And so I do have to have folks that can cross train and be flexible and that are open to learning other parts of our business so that we can shift resources around.
Yes, definitely. It's not just like you can have a specialty, but really you shine when you know a little bit about each department. And I mean, that's kind of the culture that we've been trying to put with the workers. It's like, yeah, this is your job, but if we ask you to kind of give someone their opinion over here, like give them your opinion, train them a little bit. And I guess it's also finding the right people that have those, communication skills to be able to teach people, because not anyone can teach. Yeah, I got to second that.
Well, when we check back with you in a year, Ethan, I think you're going to find, or I think I will find, that you might still have some challenges about getting products out the door, but you are going to be a happier business owner, because every time I focus more on, are you a cultural fit, I end up with happier employees and I end up being happier myself because I'm not going to work knowing that there's, potential conflict or anything like that.
Yeah.
So you're going to still be enjoying the chill California lifestyle with that either way.
All right.
Because everyone knows that Californians leave work at like 2:30 and then we just go surf, right?
Well, it's because we get in at 6 a.m. So,
right.
There you go.
Right. And then it's not raining and we have to have time to hang out with movie stars. And I mean, that is the California lifestyle, right?
Of course.
So perfect. If anybody's got just a closing thought they want to share, by all means, go for it.
It's really nice meeting both of you, and I really do
well.
appreciate the ATA for bringing me on, and I mean everyone that came out to this event. I think you guys are the ones that really make this event special. It's about trading knowledge, trading experiences, and it's just so fun. It's a good time. I had a great time with everyone.
Well, it works in all directions. Every vendor here, we invest a lot to be here, but it's because we want to meet people that are new to the industry. We want to meet people who are trying to change the industry. From a exhibitor standpoint with equipment, I love having conversations with people who are asking questions that I don't actually have great answers for, because that tells me where that future lies. That's driving my own, new product development and everything. So we really appreciate everybody who chooses to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Just want to thank you guys as well and the ATA for having me. It's been a real pleasure. I like getting outside my cover box and doing things that are not in my normal scope of a work day. So this has been a lot of fun for me. It's been a learning experience. Thank you.
And I want to thank the ATA for putting the podcast series together too. I have been checking out these episodes even before I was asked to do this. And it's always helpful to listen in on those conversations. So thank you for that.
Thank you guys for joining us today.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Go grab the last hour or so of the show floor, because it sounds like at least a couple of you have more things to go learn. So thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of ATA's Talking Textiles podcast. ATA is a not-for-profit association representing the international specialty fabrics marketplace. Learn more about the events, workshops, and webinars that ATA hosts throughout the year at textiles.org/events.